Sprague. I'd like to take a moment to share some of our experiences that we've had at the Hancock County Board of Developmental Disabilities in working with Representative Sprague. I was not familiar with Robert when he was first elected, and one of our board members, Mary Walsh, who's here today, said to me right away, she said, "You have to meet Robert," and she was right. Right after his election, he made arrangements in his busy schedule to visit Blanchard Valley Center and learn about the community supports we provide to people with developmental disabilities. I was impressed with his quick mind, his insightful questions, and his willingness to learn about and advocate for people with developmental disabilities. From our first meeting, I found him to be a thoughtful, committed, and very hardworking individual, the epitome of a great public servant. He always asks insightful questions and expresses a sincere interest in what the needs are for our individuals in our field. More importantly, and I was just amazed and continue to be very appreciative of the fact that he is always accessible. He is the only legislator in my many years of working in this field who actually called me to ask me about legislation and its impact on us. I didn't even know the legislation was going to be introduced. He listens to the comments, and he uses the comments that we have to inform his decisions to not only help people in our district, but also people throughout the state of Ohio with developmental disabilities. Representative Sprague is a native of Findlay, Ohio. Prior to becoming a state representative for Hardin, Hancock, and part of Logan County, he served as the city auditor for the city of Findlay. Before that, he was the lead financial officer for the city and worked through the budget crisis of 2007 and 8. He then served as the treasurer for the city. During the worst flood that had hit the city of Findlay since 1913, Representative Sprague teamed with other city and county officials to lead us through that crisis. To give you a little information about his background, he graduated from Duke University in Durham, North Carolina, with a degree in mechanical engineering. Following that, he was a team member for Ernst & Young and led a number of high-profile engagements with Fortune 500 companies. He formed his own consulting firm in Atlanta in 1999, and he also graduated 7th in his class with a master's degree in business administration from the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. He then returned to Findlay to pursue public service. Representative Sprague and his wife Amanda reside in Findlay with their 5 children, and we thank Amanda for coming today too. He currently is serving his 2nd term in the House of Representatives. One of the things I asked Bridget when I talked to her was, can you give me a few words to share from your perspective? And she said from the day that Robert started in the House of Representatives, he was a go-to person. He always rolled up his sleeves and was somebody that could be counted on to help and to be connected with not only our field but other areas. One of the areas that I think you probably are aware of, especially in different parts of Ohio, is his work with the Prescription Drug Addiction and Healthcare Reform Committee. With their efforts, they crafted legislation to help with the misuse of prescription drugs that has plagued many parts of Ohio. On behalf of the DD field, he has advocated for residents of ICF facilities. While all of us know that ICF facilities have changed and will continue to change, Robert has been very caring and very involved in understanding the issues that face the field, particularly in that area, and in working with us to be sure that legislation and rules are carefully and fairly planned. On behalf of the Hancock County Board of Developmental Disabilities, Representative Sprague and Cliff Height supported a capital fund project for the Hancock County Board of DD, and we received $520,000 to renovate a building. That building will transform our Can-Do Art Studio from a Can-Do Art Studio for serving primarily people with developmental disabilities to a Can-Do Community Art Studio serving people who have an interest in the arts throughout Hancock County. We already have art education classes that are full, that include community members, and are partnering with the Hancock County Arts Partnership and Marathon Performing Arts Center. Please join me in welcoming and thanking Representative Robert Cole Sprague as the Ohio Association of County Boards Legislator of the Year.
What an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wow, that's really heavy. Thank you very much, Connie. I greatly appreciate that. What an honor to be recognized as a legislator. It could be somewhat of a dubious position at times, I'll have to admit. I'm reminded, as you said all those nice things about me, Connie, about a story of a pastor who had a son, and he was a sweet child, a sweet boy when he was growing up, but as he entered those teenage years, he was having trouble. And so the pastor decided, I'd like to find out what my son is going to be when he becomes a man. So he decided to give him this test. He laid out 4 items in his bedroom, and he said, whichever one he picks up, that'll tell me what kind of a man he's going to become. So he had a bottle of whiskey at the table. He had an adult magazine. He had a deck of cards, and he had a Bible, and a $50 bill. And the minister thought to himself, well, if my son, picks up the bottle, he's going to, kind of be in saloons the rest of his life. And if he picks up the $50, that would probably be okay. Maybe he'll be a businessman or whatnot. If he picks up the cards, I'm worried that he might, go into, the nightlife and go into gambling. If he picks up the adult magazine, I'm afraid he might be a skirt chaser. But I'd really like for him to pick up the Bible and follow his dad into the ministry. So he suddenly hears his son on the staircase, and he goes and hides in the closet to see what his son is going to do. So his son walks in, and immediately he goes to the bottle of whiskey and takes a huge draw from the bottle of whiskey. He looks at the $50 and puts the $50 in his pocket. He picks up the adult magazine and begins flipping through the pages. When he's done with the adult magazine, he looks at the cards and puts the cards in his back pocket. And finally, he looks at the Bible and takes the Bible and waves it above his head and walks out the door. And the minister thought, good Lord, my son's going to be a state representative. So Connie, thank you for those kind words. I can tell you it's such a pleasure to work with our Hancock County Board of Developmental Disabilities. Connie has done a fantastic job as superintendent there. We're joined also by a very special friend of our family who is on the board there, and her name is Mary Walsh. And she and her husband, John, are some of the finest people that we know. And their son, John, is someone with developmental disability. And he is a wonderful young person, and he is loved by his family. Jackie, their daughter, babysat for us and still does when she has a chance. Mary had Tate in preschool when Tate was at the First Presbyterian Church preschool. And so as we've become friends with the Walshes, we have developed a greater heart and appreciation for those who have developmental disabilities. And so when we heard about some of these issues that came up in the budget, of course, my first reaction was to call my friend Mary Walsh and to call Connie and ask them, can you please tell me and help educate me as to what we need to consider as a General Assembly so that we do the right thing. We're very pleased to have worked with the Governor's Office and with the Senate on some of the intermediate care facility language that we felt protected some of our intermediate care facilities. We worked hard during the budget process to make sure that funding was secured for home and community-based services, and that we increased funding for those services. And most recently, as Connie mentioned in the capital budget, we have a wonderful program in Hancock County called the Can Do Art Studio. And right now, the Can Do Art Studio is for those individuals with developmental disabilities. But soon, because thanks to the vision of Mary and Connie and many others in our community, the Can Do Art Studio is going to be an art studio that not only serves those with developmental disabilities, but also our local artists, so that there is a mixture of people at the studio and the community can come in every day and see the good work that's done there by the artists around that table. It is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I wanted to tell you that we have some challenges ahead of us as a General Assembly with regards to individuals with developmental disabilities. As you know, there's a federal lawsuit and a ruling that has come down from the courts that will affect the state of Ohio and how we serve those with developmental disabilities. As we look toward the future, this ruling is one of the things that our state, as well as the other 50 states in the union, will have to take into account. The other big impact item that we have to look forward to over the next General Assembly is the impact of the new Medicaid rules and the changes to those rules that will begin phasing in the year 2017. As we look at those two federal rules, those federal mandates, it's important for us in the General Assembly that we work in lockstep with all of you here today at this conference so that you can help us understand how to keep choices available for those families with developmental disability. One of the best experiences I've had with those that have developmental disabilities was going to Ropey Rubber Corporation in Fostoria, Ohio. Ropey Rubber makes a flooring product, and it's run by a man there named Don Miller. And Don Miller, 24 years ago, decided that he wanted to work with those individuals in Fostoria that have developmental disabilities, and he wanted to do so with his organization and his company. And working along with their county board, they have created a workshop there, which is more than a workshop, it is a business. If you walk into this workshop and those with developmental disabilities, and you watch their reaction to when Don Miller comes around and greets each one of them by name, it is absolutely stunning. Their reaction to Don and Don's reaction to them. Some of them have been there for 24 years. They've been there the entire time the facility has been open. As a testament to what these individuals can do, Don not only has them making the flooring samples for his company, he is also now making the flooring samples for his competitor at this facility in Fostoria. These individuals are valued each and every day by the employees at Ropey Rubber, by their CEO, by their friends, and by their families. They have a wonderful work experience. And one of the things that we will be looking at as a General Assembly is how do we keep these opportunities in place for individuals with developmental disabilities in the face of some of the new regulations that are coming from the federal government through the court system and through the new Medicaid rules. I guess in closing, I'd like to say it's truly an honor to be here with you today. I hope that you will, through Joe Russell and Bridget and many others, that you will continue your advocacy, because we need your help in the General Assembly this next year as we go through this budget process. Because we want to make good decisions that enable our families in Ohio who have individuals with developmental disabilities to make sure that they have good choices for their sons and daughters and their family members. But in addition to that, we want to make sure, above all else, that the services that we currently have and the social contract that we've made with those families is secured for the long term, so that those families don't need to worry about their loved one. And, you know, my wife Amanda is here with me today. Amanda, if you could raise your hand. I'm so appreciative that she's here with me today. We have she is a wonderful mother to our 5 children, and and she really enables me to be able to do this job. It's an honor to be able to serve the districts of Hancock and Hardin and Logan counties, but I can tell you I spend a lot of time away from home. And every once in a while, when you're missing out on those family moments, when I was in session last night, my wife and the boys and Mary Hannah were trimming the Christmas tree, and I wish I could have been there for that. But I can tell you that it's working on issues like this, where you feel that you're really helping families in the state of Ohio and you're making our state better, that make me feel fulfilled about the work that we're doing in the General Assembly. So I'd encourage you, please, do not be a stranger. We want to work with you in the next General Assembly to address these challenges and do them in a way that we provide security and a good future for the families that all of you serve. And finally, I'd want to thank each and every one of you in the room for doing the work that you do in your counties. I know that you do work just as Connie and Mary do in Hancock County. I know that you're doing that work across the state of Ohio. Thank you for the work that you're doing each and every day in the lives of those Ohioans to make their lives better and their families' lives better. So thank you very much again for this tremendous honor. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.